We're going to talk about the difference between an SSID, an ESSID, and a BSSID. You'll hear people talking about these, and I really want to break down what the difference between all of them is. So the first thing is the station set identifier. That is the name of the wireless network, the name that we can quickly associate with the network. So if you see a list of networks like this right here, where we've got all of the network names in this column, you can very quickly identify which one is yours. Now, this should be an SSID that is identifiable. People will know that that's your SSID. So if you want them to actually join your network, they'll know which one to join. For example, you've got a list of these homes right here, and let me reorder them so they're all together. If you don't have a unique name, it may be harder for people to remember. Let's say you've got a friend who comes by periodically. They may not know if they haven't cached the SSID. They may have to ask you the difference between home-DAC2 and home-D4D9 or BBD2. So having a unique network name is useful, and that's the SSID. That's the name that's going to be very human readable and human identifiable, very easy to understand what it is. Now, the BSSID, this is the base service set identifier. The BSSID really identifies the access point, which is the base service set. So the base service set identifier is the BSSID. Now, the SSID is really attached to the BSSID because the BSSID is the service set that is advertising the SSID. But I can't connect to an SSID when we're talking about an endpoint connecting to an access point. I have to associate with an SSID, and in this case, it's a MAC address because all of this is happening over layer 2. Because it's a local network, everything is happening over layer 2. I need a layer 2 address to communicate with, which is why I need the BSSID. If I'm going to send messages to the network, I need to have a MAC address to communicate with. That's the BSSID. Now, the ESSID is something that is really the SSID, except that when you have a number of base service sets within your network, you then have a number of BSSIDs. If they all share the same SSID, it's called an ESSID for Extended Service Set Identifier. And what that really means is I have one SSID that is shared across multiple base service sets. So I may have a large number of access points spread throughout a particular building. They are all advertising the same SSID. And because it's spread out over multiple access points, it's now called an extended SSID or ESSID. So the BSSID is the address for the particular access point. The SSID is the name of the network in typically some human understandable form. And the ESSID is if I've got multiple base service sets or multiple access points spread throughout my network, my SSID then becomes an ESSID. So for the most part, ESSID and SSID are more or less interchangeable. If you've got an ESSID, it just means you've got a number of access points spread throughout your building.